Waheguru, 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 Waheguru. Ik ओंकार सतनाम करता पुरख निरभौ निर्वैर अकाल मूरत अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच हैप्पी सच नानक होसी भी सच। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा, वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। Greeting you with the Sikh greeting this morning. I'm very humble to have been invited to take part in this visionary and very important conference. And as you may know, I've been sent under the direction of Bhai Sahib Mahinder Singh Ji of the Guru Nanak Nishkam Sevak Jatha. Unfortunately, he had a parallel engagement here in India, but it made me realize he's given some importance to being able to offer a Sikh perspective for this conference. So it's with his blessings and keen interest around the proceedings that I'm here today. So thank you very much for the welcome and introduction. So I think everybody here will recognize the key word in the name of our organization, Guru Nanak Nishkam Sevak Jatha. So engaged in selfless service with Nishkamta, without desire for personal gain or not bounded by any motivation for self-gain. So an altruistic organization that also resonates so much with, you know, all we have heard of these past 2 days, the initiatives we've heard about. And so this Jatha, you know, its service in the footsteps and legacy of Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the first of the 10 Gurus who founded the Sikh Dharam. And so I'll just introduce you. Bhai Sahib Ji is third in the line of the spiritual leaders of the Nishkam group of organizations. And its origins are actually not directly in India. It was founded in East Africa, you know, over colonial times when Sikhs as well as others from South Asia migrated to Africa. So it's very much to revitalize this dharmic life amongst Sikh settlers. And since the 1970s, it's been established in Birmingham with its headquarters in Birmingham. And I'm just highlighting maybe one interest. We, as well as different centers in education, healthcare, nursery education, civic engagement. There's also a lot of work globally, for example, with the Peace Charter for Forgiveness and Reconciliation. And I feel a real resonance with the whole purpose of today's gathering to see, you know, in all the activities in the world, you know, secular efforts to exercise our social responsibility, for example, humanitarian service. Much of the thinking is drawn by a very noble sense of this social responsibility. But I feel that the gathering for this conference is to see behind this social responsibility, what is this deeper spiritual, dharmic, atmic drive to offer this service. So I'll hope to help to unpack this little from Sikh tradition. So today I'm just offering this simple picture of where I live in Birmingham, not far from the Gurudwara that you can see, the domed building, which is like the spiritual hub. This more modern building with the red circular building is the Nishkam Centre for Civic Engagement. So local projects within Birmingham, within the UK, as well as global projects. And opposite that, there is a nursery and Nishkam school. So we don't call them a Sikh school, it's a Sikh multi-faith ethos. So the one aspect that we bring as migrants to this area is one, our values that rooted in the Sikh Dharma, but these values are for humanity. So also like the Gurudwara is open to all people. So the kind of services that are offered to local people in a very super diverse area. These days, we don't say multicultural UK. This word super diversity is used because the level of diversity is so complex now. But the idea is maybe as migrants ourselves, we have some sensitivity to the needs of other people of different communities. So very much, this is this spirit which I feel is so echoed in a space like this of knowing that your values are rooted in your dharmic heritage, but because they are timeless, because they're for humanity, question is how we can rediscover them, apply them for sarbatta pala. In Punjabi, we say for the pala, the goodness, the welfare, the well-being of everybody and everyone and everything. The reason there are many videos you can, look up of the different initiatives, like the Nishkam Schools Trust has become an outstanding network of schools in the UK. So, the national Ofsted who inspect schools have given them, outstanding ratings. And I think slowly the idea is filtering through that as well as seeking academic excellence, it needs to be balanced with, the cultivation of values. And when you balance both together, you create an abundance of good work and good service for the world and wider good. But the reason I've shown you this very simple picture is I remember when I had asked Bhai Sabji about, what is driving all these different developments, local, national. And one observation was, thinking, it was a simple statement of we have taking stock, where have we come from? Where are we now? Where are we going? And I was wondering now, how should I interpret that? Is it, as the Sikh community, where have we come from the South Asia, then to the African continent, then here, settling here, what is our future? Or is it society? What, even globally, humanity, what was our past? What are all the stages? What is our present? What are the present challenges? What can we do for the future? And then also for yourself, or your own human life journey personally, and your atmic journey as well. Where have we come from? Where are we going? And what are we supposed to do for now? And having this bird's eye view helped me think there is a future vision around all these developments. And I must say, it struck me so much hearing the history of this whole complex, how a vision is not for just the present, meeting present challenges, but, sowing the seeds for the future. And so I mentioned those three questions because the various initiatives, say if we are talking about education, following the British curriculum, but also infusing it with a framework of values. We are not just engaging with Sikhs, we're engaging with people of different faiths in the city, and then engaging with wider humanity. So every project that's undertaken, you will have awareness of your secular audience, Sikhs and people from different backgrounds, and always trying to ask those more timeless questions so that whatever project and center is created or partnership is created, you are to a degree on the same hymn sheet, because your focus is on nurturing values for shared flourishing. So today I'll focus more on this Sikh dimension of Guru Nanak Dev Ji's legacy, that all the work of Nishkam has, emerged from. And so here is one famous painting of Guru Nanak Dev Ji. As you may know, Guruji made many travels over a period of some 25 years on foot to the very south of India, then eastwards, I think up to Assam, up into Tibet, Nepal side, and then westwards to the Middle East. So there are accounts of his visits to Baghdad, Mecca, Medina. So you can imagine the sheer diversity of people he would have encountered. And it's worth us all remembering what else is happening in the world. So this would be the 1500s. So at that time, we know in Europe, it's the age of enlightenment, the age of discovery, the Renaissance, Reformation, lots of change, rebirth, rethinking. And it was at this time that this Vasco da Gama would have come, brought the Portuguese ships to discover India, and then begin, found the European presence here. But it makes me reflect, on all the exalted spiritual souls that we have been paying tribute to over these 2 days. They also traveled like Guru Nanak Dev Ji, making all these journeys, but not for profit, not for conquest or conversion, but actually for connection with human beings. And in this painting, he's seated with the Guruji's traveling companion by Mardana Ji, who was a Muslim by faith, and by Balaji, a Hindu by faith. And so many of the accounts remember this bond across the traditions. Now, I want to pause here and think a little more deeply on seva. It's an ancient concept, which for Sikhs, we know it's long before us, this concept of seva has been coming. And I suppose it's one of the key building blocks in Sikh tradition. But I think we would all agree that the spirit of seva that's been described these 2 days, it's not just a charity, it's not just do-gooding, and it's also not doing something for your own karmic benefit, but, with nishkamta. And we have a shabad or verse, Raj na chahu, mukt na chahu, manpreet charan kamalare. So not seeking worldly power or even mukti. And, as Sikhs, you may know the concept of jivan mukti is very strong, to be, liberated while still in this life. So this actually shapes our understanding of seva and why we do seva as well. So not with the intention that it might neutralize a bad deed or, show some charity to people less fortunate, there's a great collective spirit in Sikh tradition. And probably, I think, most famously, Sikhs are known for the langar. And this is one initiative, Nishkam, Zero Hunger with langar, in different continents, especially Africa, empowering people to serve and feed, especially children for school. But I've pulled this up because this idea of langar is feeding a hunger. And I feel that this concept of seva as well, although it feels that you are giving, it's addressing maybe a hunger deep inside us. I think everybody who's engaged in seva feels a certain fulfillment. This is something that drives the seva. So we should see, more secular ideas of service, providing something to somebody, that rather it's a kind of honoring of the divine light in all. And actually there is a feeding of one's own soul, a kind of langar of sorts within. Now, in Sikh teachings as well, it's been very interesting to have our earlier contributions today, because I suppose very key, we have the turban. Turban is adorning the seat of wisdom, in the architecture of the human body. This dome here is the seat of wisdom, and with the turban we adorn it. And I know Sikhs are very much known, they were called the martial race by the British, being in the Punjab region, always for centuries and centuries, the gateway into India, and a place of a lot of invasions and oppression and hostilities. This Mool Mantra from Guru Nanak Dev Ji, the first teaching that was revealed to him. So the Mool Mantra is the invocation that I chanted at the start. So as we engage in seva, the idea is always connecting back to the Mool, the root of who you are. So when we say this Mool Mantra, we're honoring the root of existence, but also the root of your own being. And we are land on this planet. And in our morning prayer, Japji Sahib, we've envisioned the planet as a dharamsal. So it is this place of dharam. It's a temporary stopover for our traveling spirit. So this idea of the planet as the dharamsal, it kind of answers this question about why we are here as well. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. And this, although now in England, although the word Sikhism is often used, we are trying more and more to say the Sikh Dharam, because within this concept, from a Sikh perspective as well, it highlights this living with a sense of being creator conscious and creation conscious, because Sabma Jyot, Jyot hai soe, the divine light is everywhere in everything, and the path of life is to ignite, kindle, and help it shine brightly and steadily. And to do that is by kindling wisdom and virtue. And I've now shown this is a more modern emblem of the Sikh faith, more martial, but listening to the contributions, a big theme yesterday was having the strength, courage, conviction, resilience to uphold goodness. So I think maybe this might be one contribution from Sikh faith to the idea of seva, that it's something that is done with a passion, and it's a light, it's like as a practice, it's a beacon to keep shining brightly. And this martial image is also related to good governance and sovereignty. So if we go back to the idea of the mind, you know, that you are become actually no longer enslaved by the ego. And this is another big contribution from Dharmic traditions, because there's a real shining a light on the life of the mind. And our practices of Simran, and meditative remembrance, seva, practical service, sangat, being in the company of role models, learners, mentors, these help to carve you in on this path of a dharma. And eventually, as you become liberated from the ego, this is really what the sovereign mind is, that you are not enslaved anymore. And with this connection to the values, then it's the values that become, they reign in the mind. The mind becomes this realm, this dominion for values. And so all this imagery, you know, in the world traditions of a crown, a sword, it's all to do with good rule and governance. And for Sikhs, because we, you know, have seen these times of tyranny, and oppression, even long before Guru Nanak Dev Ji and into the future, there are different forms of tyranny and oppression in the global challenges we face today. So for Sikhs, this martial dimension is actually this strength and resilience of inner values. Now, I would like to finish with a video, and it's not really one that's showing all the projects. There are others that you can look up for that. But it's one that tries to get to the heart of the mind and heart of this seva bhavana. So this spirit of seva, because what I understand from some of our other work with, you know, changing education policy or health policy, is not just to say, oh, you must practice this value, but I think this path of dharma is changing your whole sentiment for living, not just the meaning for life, but your feeling for living while you're on this planet, knowing that on this dharamsal, our time is temporary. Bhai Sabji in the past have said, you know, you pick up a pebble and you think this pebble will outlive me. So this also helps with that path of selflessness, because it's feeling what you can do now for the present age and for, you know, for the generations you will not see as well. So I will get some help maybe from the IT team just to show this video. Thank you. Thank you. So please listen and enjoy.
believe that the whole of humanity is actually one large family. There are many denominations within religions and so on, but we believe that one should have respect for everybody, across religion, across creeds and social status, whatever. That is the message that Guru Nanak gave. We are here for a purpose. The three cardinal questions that are asked are, where are you from? What are you supposed to do here? And where will you ultimately end up? So within that context, we are spiritual travelers. So our destination and our roots are in fact the same. And we report to one singular, all-powerful, almighty. We're all God's children. And I think that is what we try and practice. Guru Nanak Dev Ji and successive gurus are very explicit. They say if you are born in a particular religion, be good, excel in that particular religion. We should serve unconditionally. God loves us unconditionally. When you are serving, you should take yourself out of the equation. In other words, you should not serve with arrogance, with an ego. You should feel honored and privileged that you are able to serve God's creation. That is what is required. This game of love is not for the faint-hearted. Love is not a joke. It is a very powerful emotion. And it requires you to totally and absolutely submit yourself. It is total and absolute sacrifice. That is what seva is, nishkam seva. And not looking for anything as a reward. You do it for the love of it. I often ask people, give me another word for love, and they struggle. And I console them and I say, there is no other word for love, I will tell you. The nearest word is sacrifice. If you cannot sacrifice, you cannot love. If you cannot sacrifice, you cannot serve. Nishkam means total sacrifice. In the morning prayer of a Sikh, we read, Sach kaho, sun layo sabah, jin prem kiyo tin hi prabh payo. If you want to get to God, you want to fuse in God, because that is what salvation is, to become part of Him, then you will have to love Him utterly and absolutely. But to love Him, you will have to love his entire creation. He did not create anything that is superfluous. From pure matter to pure spirit, through vegetation, animals, humans and better humans, until you have pure spirit, God himself. All these different categories through compassion is the first rung of the ladder of spirituality. Compassion is very important. No compassion, no religion, no faith. So, love, compassion, forgiveness, these are the toolkits of his spiritual path. Don't define what you want. Just do it for the love of him. That is selflessness.
Thank you, Ji. And the voice there, in fact, was by Sabji. So it's nice that in a way he has been present here through the reflections on that short film. This week, in fact, by Sabji are here because it's the 350th anniversary of the great selfless sacrifice of our ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur Ji. As you may know, the more difficult, oppressive times later in the Mughal dynasty in India, he took a stand to protect the religious freedoms of all people in India, maybe a precursor even, to more modern day declarations of freedom of belief. And his selflessness was to the extent that he gave his head, literally gave his head for upholding those beliefs, upholding the freedom of all people in India, when he's approached initially by the Kashmiri Brahmins who had been long suffering. So I think this was really, I suppose, infused in our understanding of seva. And in that video, you also saw the Sikh initiation into the Khalsa order. So following this beheading of the ninth Guru by the authorities, I think this also triggered, this creation of the Khalsa was really to say, if you're stepping onto this path, giving your all, giving your head. And if this is a shabad even from Guru Nanak Dev Ji about, the path of love is, you have to be lion-hearted on this path as well. And I think this is very much behind the life of an initiated Sikh. And one last comment, everything circles back to compassion. So this idea of dharam, in fact, out of the first 5 initiates into the Khalsa order, the first initiate was named by Dharam Singh, and the next was, first was by Daya Singh, and next was by Dharam Singh, by Himmat Singh Ji, by Mohkamjit Singh Ji, and by Sahibjit Singh Ji. And they, for Sikhs, encapsulate the values of Daya, compassion, before Dharam. That if you just have a framework of religious, structures, rules, and rituals, but they are not infused with dharam, there is no dharam without Daya. And the whole world in our morning prayer, the dharamsal of the planet, the actual metaphorical bull that holds up the world, Dharam that holds the world, we say that actually Dharam is the child of Daya. Tol Dharam, Daya ka Poot. And so, yes, so this very majestic, martial, strong image that Sikhs are known by, it's underpinned very much by love, by values, Daya, Sat, Santok, Nimrta, Prem. And even, Sikhs, initiated Sikhs will wear the kirpan. And we don't like to, even a sword is not an adequate translation. We say within that is kirpa and an, this kirpa, kindness, mercy, and also dignity, defending, having your own dignity and defending the dignity of all. And also encapsulated into seva is we are, all levels of society in one. We are, you must have the humility of a servant, the entrepreneurial spirit of, somebody who works for a living, runs a business. And you must have this wisdom of sovereigns and kings to govern responsibly. So the seva aspect is very much to be an all-in-one person with all these attributes. I think with that, there's much more to share, but I hope this has given you a flavor of our service under the Nishkam, Guru Nanak Nishkam Sevak Jatha and its Nishkam organizations, and also very much how we aspire to live out this legacy of Guru Nanak Dev Ji and form the friendships of all 10 gurus with other luminaries of their time. It's been very personally moving for me to engage with you in this space and feel the resonance. And may it be, movements that gain momentum, build this resonance for a better world for us all. So with that, I'll close with the Sikh greeting. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.